So in this segment, we're going to be talking about France and the UK clashing over border force tactic plans. So this is essentially the UK is going to look at turning back certain ships from asylum seekers slash migrants. Now, the Home Office are getting more and more desperate to kind of stop people coming into the country via these kind of, is it the English Channel? Because we can't actually deport them anymore back to where they, back to France or whichever country that they've come from in Europe. We could have done that before under the Dublin 3 regulation when we were a member of the EU, which enabled the UK to return some asylum seekers to EU member states without considering their asylum claims. Now, obviously, we can't do that anymore because we're not a member of the EU. So the Home Office's plan is to stop people getting here because they have to process their claim once they're here. So if they stop them from getting here and send them back to France, they think that they won't have to assess their asylum claims, which, if the government wanted to, instead of wasting all this money, they could actually work with the French for the French to process their legal claims, or they could do the right thing, which is create more legal points of entry here and have more judges to preside over the asylum claims. Oh wait, we don't have enough judges as is. Anyways, France has hit out over the UK's plans to turn back some boats carrying migrants across the Channel to England. The government wants the border force to turn away boats, but only in limited circumstances under a pre-authorised policy signed off by Home Secretary Patel. France has said this would break maritime law and also accused the UK of financial blackmail, which is either do stuff or we put more people in danger. Also the fact that we give France, I think it was like 50 million in order to police the waters better, which they're obviously not doing the best job of. But at the same time, why are we relying on another country to police our border? It doesn't make sense. Johnson said any new plans will be safe and legal. Well, the legality is definitely being challenged, and the safety is no doubt. It's very unsafe. The UK's border force has been training for months to use the highly controversial tactic of turning boats back in certain circumstances. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. There's an LBC article on that. Government sources told the BBC that the final training may take place within days, subject to the weather, so you might be able to get away with using it in the summer when, the weather's a bit nicer and the seas are a bit calmer, but you try this stuff in the winter and you'll be swimming with the fish, where Blackbeard is now in Black Flag, meaning the tactic could be in place and ready to be used whenever the UK thinks it is practical, safe and legal to do so. Again, if the person who signs off on using this tactic in a certain situation, if that leads to people dying because they drown or whatever, who's going to be responsible for that? Is it the Home Office, or is it just going to be the person who signed off on it? Because if it's just the person who signed off on it, I can imagine no one is going to sign off on this. This is just more tough talk from a Home Office, which has no idea how to deal with anything. France, as well as other campaigners and critics, question the legality of the plan. They believe it breaks international maritime law, which says people at risk of losing their lives at sea must be rescued. And obviously you're going to be putting people in, dinghies, essentially in more danger by trying to spin their boat around. The government lawyers say turning the boats back would be legal in limited and specific circumstances. There's that phrase again, in a limited and specific way. Although they have not confirmed what these will be, because if they do confirm it, they can be held legally liable for this. That's why they're not going to confirm it. It's going to be very nebulous, because everything this government does is very nebulous. In a strongly worded tweet, French Interior Minister Gerald Darmanin said France would not accept any practice that breaks maritime law. But again, what are the French going to do about this? Not much. There's not much they can do. UK's commitment must be kept, he said. I clearly said it to my counterpart Preet Patel. The friendship between our two countries deserves better. Are we really friends with the French? Are we? I don't know. Than posturing which undermines the cooperation between our two ministries. Well, one of them wants a hostile, runs a hostile Home Office. I don't know what about the French, but Patel doesn't like foreigners. That would include Mr. Gerard Darmanin, whatever his name is. He also accused the UK of financial blackmail, referring to a deal the UK and France struck over money earlier this year when the British government promised to pay £54.2 million for extra protection on the French side of the Channel, such as doubling the number of coastal patrols. But to be fair, with the French, they can just say, fine, we're not going to bother. If anyone leaves our beaches to go to the UK, we're not going to stop them. Good luck, pal. That's what the French could do in this situation. Since then, obviously that would be very dangerous as well. Since then, Ms. Patel had warned that Britain could withhold money unless more boats are intercepted. Well, obviously, the French could just make up the numbers on this. Like, there's not going to be any way of proving how many they have intercepted. The PM spokesperson rejected those accusations, saying the government has provided our French counterparts significant sums of money previously, and we've agreed another bilateral agreement backed by millions of pounds. This taxpayers' money given to the French to police the border. Well, how well is that going then? Because you were just wasting money again. But of course, you don't care about taxpayers' money like that. He said, any approach Border Force uses is safe and legal. Operational activities comply with domestic and international law. Well, we'll see when this starts happening and and people get taken to court. We'll see how legal this stuff is. Oh, this looks interesting actually. Cover that at some point. The UK has a legal right to intercept people at sea where necessary to prevent crime or to protect borders, but whatever the legal advice the UK government has received on migrant boats, it's questionable whether such an operation could continue once there are clear sign of danger. I mean, if you try and spin a boat around and it's got a chance of, capsizing or whatever, you can't do that, and you have to take those people to the closest kind of safe point, closest kind of port. Border Force commanders, like everyone else at sea, are under an international legal obligation to protect life where possible, and I can imagine there will be some serious court cases once people start drowning because of the Home Office. So their window of opportunity to push back operations could be very tight. More importantly, is this really ever going to happen? There is no international waters in the Dover Strait, so any operation would need French cooperation. Charities are against the plan. The Red Cross, blah blah blah, saying that crossing the channel in a small boat is only ever a desperate last resort, and maybe if we gave the French more resources to process asylum claims, we wouldn't be in this situation right now. An extremely dangerous one. When people's lives are in danger, they need to help, compassion and humanity, not to have their ordeal extended. Amnesty International said people only make dangerous journeys and rely on smugglers because there are no safe alternatives made to them. I mean, I don't think there is any legal safe point of entry from France to the UK for asylum seekers. So that's why people do this. Obviously, the Home Office know this. They're just using this as a boogeyman essentially to win more votes at the next election and keep the people of Kent on side despite the endless Brexit problems they've caused Kent. We all want the boats to stop, but this plan massively increased the chance of families drowning at sea. Labour also said that the Home Secretary is even considering these dangerous proposals, show how badly she has lost control in these situations, which is true, she has. You've got rising numbers of people coming across. The Channel is one of the most dangerous and busiest shipping lanes in the world. Many migrants come from some of the poorest and most chaotic parts of the world, and many of them ask to claim asylum once they are picked up by UK authorities. And you can see the numbers here. You've got 128 in July, 100 in August. I mean, these numbers aren't exceptionally high for a country whose population is 66 point something million. Like, these aren't extremely high numbers of people coming in. It's just there are no resources allocated to help them, and the Home Office doesn't like them. And the fact that they use this as a way to win votes from, xenophobes, essentially. The government has previously spoken about cracking down on the organisation of crime gangs who smuggle people across the channel, often for profit. I will stress, if you created more legal, safe points of entry, people wouldn't turn to smugglers. On Thursday, Number 10 said the public expects the government to act, not do this. Maybe some people do, but once families start drowning, how proud will these British people feel? We know this is a long-standing problem that the public expects to address. Yet again, not like this. Talk about criminal gangs, create more safe points of entry. There's a bit more here. So what happens to migrants in the English Channel? If migrants/asylum seekers are found in the UK national waters, it is likely they will be brought to a British port, so taken somewhere over here. If they're in international waters, the UK will work with French authorities to decide where to take them. So essentially the UK will be like, you take them, and the French will be like, no, you take them. Each country has search and rescue zones. EU law called Dublin 3 allows asylum seekers to be transferred back to the first member state they were proven to have entered, but the UK is no longer part of that arrangement, hence why the government are getting more desperate in their ways of stopping people crossing the channel, because they know once they get here, that's it, you can't deport them back to another EU country. You have to deport them somewhere else. And what the Home Office are doing, they bought more of these armoured boats. So Patel has authorised plans of armoured jet skis or personal watercraft, armoured jet skis, to spin boats back attempting to cross the channel around mid-crossing. So what they're doing is incredibly dangerous. They spent a lot of money on these armoured jet skis in order to try and rotate ships back towards France. The Home Office has reportedly overseen the final stages of a border training scheme. We mentioned some of this before. Under plans reported by The Sun, ever reliable as they are, the jet skis would escort them back to the French waters under the assumption that migrants with no sailing expertise would not be able to turn it around back to the UK. Well, what's to stop them from turning it back around once they get to France and making that same dangerous journey again? So it mentions it here. The manoeuvre requires 2 jet skis, one pushing the boat from its bow and the other nudging the stern to spin it around. Essentially, I think they'll be pushing from both sides in order to spin the boat around, which sounds as dangerous as it probably is. You are risking, if one person pushes too much or gets underneath the boat, you are risking capsizing a rubber dinghy and causing people to drown, which, don't know how proud British people would be when they know their actions. Their taxpayers' money was spent on that, but there are people who'd be happy with that sort of thing. Former Navy Chief Admiral Lord West said the strategy could be dangerous. It's an accident waiting to happen. It's not clever and it's problematic. He added, if sea conditions were not calm or those on board do not cooperate with the border force officers, boats could capsize. And to be fair, if this boat here has to touch the other boat to spin it, what's to stop any of these people jumping off their boat and trying to attack the border force agent? Nothing. Nothing would stop them doing that. I don't know if these guys are armed, and even if they are, it's going to be incredibly dangerous to try and fight back when you're on one of these things, especially because you're generally going to be on your own. This strategy the Home Office are taking is incredibly dangerous and very, very stupid. But shocker, it's the British government. They do stupid stuff like this. Most of this is for optics, but anyone unlucky enough to have their boat spun around is going to be put in an incredibly dangerous position. And any Home Office, border force officers who are involved in this are putting themselves in danger because these people could easily jump off the boat and attack you, and there'd be very little you could do about it because I don't think they're armed. And even if they were, you're asking these people to essentially kill people at that point, directly kill people. I don't think many people in the border force have signed up for that. Anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.